Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for being here in another edition of our English language international meetings on Sundays. As usual, let me share my screen so everybody knows what we are going to do today and the following Sundays. Okay, let me open my presentation, my PPT. Well, it's taking some minutes, some seconds. I don't know what happens. Well, here it is. Okay, let me open it. Okay, today is November the 12th, and this is our 110th International English Online Meeting. Incredible, incredible. So, if you want to contact me, this is my WhatsApp number. Anything you need from Peru, I will be more than glad to send it back to you online, of course. Then this is my Facebook account if you want to contact me. And who are our next speakers? Well, on November the 26th, we will have Damaris Habsh from Cameroon. She will be talking about language use in EFL classroom conflicts, situations, and analysis of speech acts. Then on December the 10th, our Peruvian friend Marco Saavedra will be talking about training, skillfulness, but effectiveness. Then our last meeting this year, Let's Celebrate Life, Love and Friendship by Deborah, Isabel, Rana, Mary Scholl, Raj, and Dennis Montaño. We already have guest speakers for next year, unbelievable. So our good friend Plamen will be talking about second foreign language teacher identity negotiation, why our personal and professional stories matter. That'll be on February the 18th. Then Angelina Yureva from Russia will be talking to us about making educational videos as a method to improve language skills. And finally, Marina Alavi from Argentina will be talking about how to generate a new mindset with the access of sustainability. Wow. Those are our guest speakers next year. Thank you, everyone. And as I mentioned before, today we have Randall Davis from the USA, Fernanda Felix, and also Maisa Atner, and also Anthony Michael, and also Russ Wilson, who will be joining us in a few minutes. So, dear friends, welcome to this edition. And the screen is all yours, dear Randall. You can do whatever you want. We have 1 hour and 10 minutes for the presentation, and then 10, 15, 20 extra minutes for questions and comments.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And what we like to do, anytime someone comes to a live broadcast like that, I believe that they want to feel part of the conversation. Otherwise, you could just watch it in a week or so on YouTube. And so one of the things that I want to try to do is initially being invited to give a presentation, but then I wanted to reach out to some other professionals in different parts of the world to talk about a very relevant topic. And what we encourage you is throughout the broadcast to share through the chat. If I could ask Fernanda and also Anthony and Mesa and Russ to be able to kind of monitor the chat as comments come in, because I think those will be really relevant to us. So again, I thought it would be really interesting to have a panel discussion on this particular topic. What I'd like to do is give some very brief comments, then have the panelists introduce themselves, and then I posted in the chat a list of questions that we're going to cover today, and we hope that you will feel like you can be a part of this. So let me just make some initial comments regarding it. I think we should begin by stating that AI technologies have been around for decades. It's nothing that just popped up in November of 2022 with ChatGPT. And in fact, if we look at AI developments over the years, I think they are very fascinating. For example, in the 1990s, You had IBM's Deep Blue, which was a chess-playing computer, a massive computer system that used advanced algorithms to actually, and it made headlines in 1997 when it defeated Garry Kasparov, who was the reigning chess champion. And then later on with Google, its advances in the algorithms to provide more relevant search results. And then you think about Siri, who is our virtual, like you could say personal assistant. But then you look also at other technologies like advanced self-driving cars, Netflix that provides you with, recommendations based on your viewing history. And then we have customer service bots who, when you have a question for a particular company online, they will try to, determine what you're interested in and how they can help you. LinkedIn, YouTube, all of these services are using in the background AI technologies. But really, I think the emergence of ChatGPT about a year ago really brought things closer to home. It was like in our face because we started to be awakened in many ways to the role that AI technologies, ChatGPT, and others could play a significant role in both teaching, materials development, and just the way that we think. So today, what I thought about is bringing on a panel and including you that are watching today to talk about and determining the ethical, the transparent ways in which different AI technologies can be used. And how do we harness the power of AI technologies and also balance the concerns of integrity, academic integrity, privacy, and the quality of education? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves, and then we'll get into our discussion today. Anthony, could you lead us off?
Thank you very much. My name is Anthony Michael. I'm from Nigeria. I've worked in Peru for 7 years. Currently, I'm working with Arema, Phoenix, Arizona. I hope we have a very wonderful time today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Fernanda, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Fernanda, and I am currently residing in India. I'm working in a place called PCTE, Group of Institutes, which is a college, and it's located in a rural area. So there are a lot of villages around, and I'm getting to learn how to cope without technology itself. So I'm doing the opposite of, I think, our Western friends. I mean, everyone at the in the West are doing at the moment. So yeah, I need to strike a balance in this way, and I hope to find out more today. So thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda. Mesa? And I'm wondering if she's, oh, there she is. Yes, Mesa.
Okay, my name is Maysa Adnan. I am Syrian, and I'm living in the UAE, in the United Arab Emirates. I have been teaching in the United Arab Emirates since 2003 and until now. And I'm so happy to be with you, Brandon.
Thank you. And let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Randall Davis. I work at the University of Utah in the English Language Institute. I've been doing that for a number of years. Before that, I was in Japan for 8 years, and before that, back in Utah. And again, I'm really interested in this particular topic. And Jaime, you asked me why I like to engage in this way, because it gives people an opportunity to meet and visit and to see all of your faces. I think that's wonderful, an opportunity to do that. I believe, Jaime, if you can just keep track of the video, that another panelist, Russ, might be joining us. If you could just kind of monitor that as well.
Yeah, I will.
All right, well, let's just go ahead and begin. And you can see in the chat some of the questions that we'd like to address today. As we do so, and I think it's really interesting because our panelists, Mesa from the United Arab Emirates, originally from Syria, but now there. Anthony from Nigeria, having worked in Peru and in the United States, and Fernanda over in India. And we want to recognize that many people are working in different resource environments. low resource environments where, maybe they're sitting under a palm tree, not, we're not even dealing with AI technologies, but others are, yes, in the midst of these issues. And so we'd like to kind of keep that in mind. And as we discuss this topic, we encourage all of you to post any questions or thoughts regarding the questions that you see in the chat, and we'll try to include you in the discussion. And then toward the end of the presentation, we hope to have minutes where we can take questions and thoughts so you can participate as well. All right. So let's just go ahead and begin. And Anthony, again, from Nigeria, and Fernanda, actually in India. And one of the things I'd like to start out with is, what are some of your general impressions of AI technologies over the years, whether it deals with Google, whether it deals with self-driving cars, outside of even teaching? What are your general impressions? Anthony, and then Fernanda.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would say that it is a mixed feeling. It is a mixed feeling because there are so many sides to it. First, I'm looking at Nigeria as a country where I come from. We are an emerging economy. Our source of foreign exchange is oil. So if we replace our AI with so many things oil can do for us, then we are doomed. In the next 50 years, according to the United Nations or UNICEF, we will be about 250 million people. So in this case, I would say that it's a misfeeling because I'm one of those lucky, privileged people that educated and making use of this AI. What about what will happen to many other over 30 million students that are not educated right now? That are even dependent on their parents, for food and everything. So it's a misfeeling because I don't think it will be good for us as a nation, actually, because bringing it even to economical side of it, if we replace AI to some of the work people can do, then the issue of employment will be really, really problematic for us because we don't have that resource or resources to maintain such, high population, especially the youth, So I would say that we are disadvantaged in many ways, the application of AI in Nigeria today. Thank you.
You're muted.
Oh, I was just talking to myself, just practicing. Now,
Okay.
I guess what I was trying to suggest is that we're not suggesting that AI is a panacea, that there are not challenges that are associated with it, and many times that we don't want to use it at all. Fernanda, any thought on that? Just the AI in general.
There you go. So,
Okay.
so as Anthony, Michael or Anthony, should I call you Michael or yeah? Okay. So as Anthony was saying, I was just thinking as well as he was speaking, and I thought that AI has just the magnitude of AI nowadays has become unprecedented. I think I feel that we have not, we didn't know how much AI was going to be so necessary in education, and I think this has become more defined nowadays. So before it wasn't something that we needed in order to teach. And nowadays it is almost a prerequisite, right? So something we need in order to teach well. So I think that this is a paradigm that has shifted a little bit. Yeah, and this is all I have to say for now.
Thank you for mentioning that. Now, Jaime, you asked at the beginning how long I've been teaching. The question is, my biggest concern when I started teaching in the 80s was getting chalk on my pants. I mean, that's the technology that we were working with. So things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah,
Well, let me
quite a
go
bit.
on and bring in Mesa. Mesa, when you think about AI technologies, and this is kind of the question number 2, what are one or two words that describe your feelings about emerging technologies? And any of you that are watching, feel free in the chat to describe what are your feelings? What are a couple of words that describe it? Mesa?
When it comes to my feeling, Randall, I can say that artificial intelligence might make me excited and worried at the same time. Now, excited because you know that this, we can say this tool can bring a lot of easiness to our life. But at the same time, it makes me worried because we are working with this technology, but we do not know where are we going to reach. For example, you know that artificial intelligence can take our faces and speak instead of us. So it can say words that we do not want to say. It can say ideas or views that are not related to us. So this is the horrible thing about this kind of technology. So my
Absolutely.
fear of excitement and worry at the same time.
Well, yeah, I think that's a common feeling regarding that. Well, let's go on. And one of the things that, again, has come to the foreground for many of us is a ChatGPT. We recognize that it's only one of so many different technologies. And Mesa, you were talking about cloning voices, cloning videos, which really can have a significant impact. But when you think about ChatGPT, you know, one of the tools that we hear about the most is ChatGPT. And how have you or your institution responded to its use? Anthony, and then I'm going to go back to Mesa.
Well, the Chat GPT was introduced to me in Peru, actually, in my institution when we are trying to learn some of these things to help us in our classes during the pandemic period. I was lucky and I was privileged to be in a school that can afford some of those things. Now, first and foremost, it was a wonder to me because how I can transfer messages easily to my students. And I remember that the shutdown in Peru started on the 15th of March. By 17th of March, we started working online immediately. So I was really privileged. But on the other way around, I begin to see the effect on our students. In fact, I remember, playing the role of a big brother, uncle to some students who believe that that is not enough to socialize them. In fact, a parent told me, "What can I do to help my daughter?" I said, "Probably go and buy a pet for your daughter because it has a kind of individualized situation whereby there is no communication. So, in as much as there is this communication happening, but the student cannot feel that interactive connection, when it comes to human or face to face or person to person interaction situation. So I would say it's something beautiful, and at the same time, there may be some people that are not really comfortable with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mesa, again, working in the United Arab Emirates, teaching at a high school, how has been the response to ChatGPT or other similar technologies?
Now, you know that in my country, we are using the technology a lot and we are depending on technology a lot because it's very, very easy to use technology. You know that the internet is excellent here in the UAE. In my organization or in my school workplace, the ChatGPT and other technological devices are used and we depend on them a lot. I think that in my school we depend on ChatGPT for in a positive way. How you know that each student has his or her device with them, and we can ask them during the class time. We can ask them to use these kind of technologies to make some kind of researches for instance, brainstorm ideas. So I think we can control the use of this kind of technology because it's, as I told you, it's used positively.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest questions about control that a lot of people have concern about. Fernanda, what about in a rural setting? You're again working in India. To what degree has something like ChatGPT been a part of either your teaching or just the surroundings and community in which you live and teach?
Okay, so in the city where I'm teaching, Ludhiana, and I'm working in one of the most modern colleges in Ludhiana, and this city is considered a modern city, but it's quite rudimentary. Like it's quite they're not like as technological as some places are around the world. So where I work, they we are asked, teachers are encouraged to use Chat GPT and to encourage students to use Chat GPT. But we don't have a very stable Wi-Fi. Even to take attendance, sometimes we need to connect our own hotspot in order to use the Wi-Fi in the college. And also we have some projectors, but now they have installed some kind of it's like TV, some interactive TV where you can like write things and on top of the screen and so on. So, they are making new changes. They are implementing some things, but the thing is, I feel that it's more like a trend. So, even though there is encouragement to use technology, and on one hand, this is good, I believe that on the other hand, if we don't know how to use and why we are using, then I think it becomes a little bit challenging. So I feel that this is the situation there. We're following the trend in a way, but we lack the knowledge of how to use that trend. Yeah.
And I think that's a really important point, because when you're talking about having an understanding of how it is used and how it can be used effectively is the biggest question. So what I'd like to do is shift the topic just a little bit to talk about more specifics, because I know that when I heard of ChatGPT, I think it was at the end of 2022, I thought, I don't know, it's just maybe a fad. It'll come and go. And then all of a sudden you heard these warning alarms of, what it could do, what it couldn't do, how it should be used, and so forth. And I think that for me, I use it almost daily, both in teaching and in my own individual work. But the question is what could be some of the pros and cons? And I'm looking at specific examples. Again, first talking about ChatGPT, but it could be related to others. So what are some things that you've done specifically in using ChatGPT or something related to also help students, but maybe to alleviate fears that institutions have about using it? Anthony, any thought on that?
Yes, of course. Like I said, I was really privileged and lucky to be part of that last a few years ago. There are two ways we are doing it actually in my school. First and foremost, Chat GPT replaced most of our staff. Instead of getting the secretary, to do something, Chat GPT will help you. I remember that. The secretary is now available. Say whatever you want, you chat, it will tell you what to do, where to get what you want, and those kind of things. And so in some ways it was really, really beautiful, really, easy. But in another way, there are some things that I cannot do. Like I want to submit an important document. ChatGPT cannot collect the important document from me to give. I also used it when during the time, because I was managing two different classes. And then when I'm not available, my student will say, okay, this is Anthony Michael, reach out to him, whatever you want. They will say whatever they want. At the end of the day, ChatGPT will not solve the problem. I will still have to come back and look at the message and still solve the problem. So like Fernanda said, a trend. Well, I would say it's a trend, but I would say that many institutions that are using this ChatGPT have not really, really defined the extent in which they want to apply this ChatGPT, because in as much as it is solving some problem, helping in directing people to reach out to something or to get to something, it cannot do everything actually, and this is where we are stuck. So if it cannot do everything, does it worth it, or do we continue to use it? Yes, I will. It's a very beautiful innovation. Thank you.
Well, let's think about this, for example. When we first heard at our institution, and Mesa, I'm going to bring you in here in a minute. The biggest fear that often teachers have and institutions is about academic integrity, about students, for example, just blatantly copying things, throwing a prompt into ChatGPT, and then it generates a response. And then now we hear of different humanizing websites that you can take ChatGPT content, put it in, and it will humanize it so you can't detect it. But the question is, my feeling is just like a tube of toothpaste. The toothpaste is out of the tube. There's no way of forcing it back in. So, Mesa, if you could speak to any concerns that your high school in the United Arab Emirates have had about trying to, work with ChatGPT. What are some requirements? What is allowed? What is not allowed? I'm thinking, and I'm drilling down to maybe more specifics now.
And I think that organizations need to be smart enough to manipulate this technology to their own way. For example, we can ask our students to limit the use of technology.
Mesa, you're breaking up just a little bit. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that again?
Okay, I was saying that we need to manipulate this kind of technology to our own will. And I think that teachers and schools need to be aware of this technology in order to manipulate it to their own will, as I told you. For example, we can limit the use of devices. In our school, for example, the high school students must bring their devices every day with them, whereas students from 5 to 8 are allowed to bring their devices only twice a week, and for the grade 1 to 4, they are allowed to bring their devices only once a week. So in this way, we are training our students not to depend all the time on technology. It means that we are also allowing them to depend on themselves. And this is what is meant by responsibility, the responsibility towards technology. We should teach our students that technology is not there all the time. So we have to accept the fact that one day it might disappear. Who knows what will happen in the future?
Okay, so you mentioned about training, helping students understand things better. I know that Angelina, she wrote in the chat, she says, I noticed that some of my students cannot think independently. They are afraid to express their own ideas in essay and in speaking practice. They constantly check these thoughts on the internet and use ChatGPT not only for avoiding grammar mistakes, but also examples and ideas. Thank you for sharing that. And again, the idea of thinking independently. And then Edison says, maybe we're just assuming teachers and students alike are capable of using it, but we're not sure if they have the knowledge, connectivity, and technology it requires. Now, let me bring in Russ. You've just joined us. Thank you. Russ, could you just introduce yourself as one of the panelists?
Sure. My name's Russ Wilson, and I've been working alongside Randall at the English Language Institute for about 15 years now. And before that, I taught in Hawaii and a few other different English schools. I've been very interested in technology. I'm the technology coordinator where I work. And so ChatGPT is a very relevant thing, as are other AI technologies as they emerge.
And Russ, could you speak to one of these questions? We were talking about specific ways in which ChatGPT might help and enhance learning, but could you describe some of the concerns at the university and in terms of just using technology? And then going back to Angelina, she was talking about the concern of helping students thinking independently along with the technology, whether it be ChatGPT or other.
Yeah, well, as far as concerns go, I think some of these have already been expressed in the few minutes that I've been here. The thinking independently is one of the big ones. We want students, of course, to think critically, and we've noticed that students often follow the path of least resistance. They find an easy way to, when something thinks for them, or they think it thinks for them. But we've noticed that because, first of all, we do want students to think independently, but we've also noticed that students have a tendency to accept what AI technologies produce at face value, without realizing that, for example, ChatGPT is, and this may have already been discussed before I logged in, but ChatGPT can be very inaccurate in terms of facts. And I think one very beneficial thing to do with students is go through exercises with them, with ChatGPT, and have them look things up on ChatGPT, ask questions about something they are familiar with, and then demonstrate, oh, here I can highlight right here. This is an inaccuracy, maybe print it out and use a highlighter to show things. Okay, this I can verify somewhere. This in blue, for example, and this I'm going to highlight in orange because I know this is not true. And I can prove that this is not true elsewhere. So getting students to realize, oh, this is not producing the kind of factual content that I need to rely on. And then also we can have them understand that ChatGPT doesn't necessarily follow instructions as they're given, without some care and you have to massage ChatGPT content to make it what you want it to be. Many times, for example, just a simple example, if I ask ChatGPT to create a reading sample for students, and it gives me subheadings. I give it several factors, like this should be an academic reading, it should be 700 words long, it should be on this topic, and so on. I'll give it to it. And then it will produce subheadings, and I will say, please remove the subheadings. And it will say, oh, I'm so sorry, I will regenerate this without subheadings. And it proceeds to regenerate it and includes the subheadings again. So that's just one simple example, but it can often produce content that is not what we're asking it to produce. Students need to be aware of those two things as they are using it as a tool, that it's not necessarily going to give them what they want. And so they can't rely on it to think for them. If they get that message by seeing it, by working with that fact, I think that's beneficial.
Yeah, Jaime, thank you, Russ, for bringing up that idea. I think we ran through ChatGPT to create a bio for me, Randall Davis, and it said I was from California. It said that I was studying in California. So those are certain concerns. I thank you for bringing those up. Jaime, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to read Shankar Ankush's comment on Facebook Live. He says, the world will divide into two groups, technology literate and technology illiterate. In the field of education, rural area students don't use technology in their education. So what will happen with them as AI is concerned? Something very important.
Yeah, I think that deals with high and low resource environments and a number of issues. So thank you for bringing that up. And again, we encourage everyone, those panelists as well, if you see any of the comments that are coming up, feel free to address those. I see a couple of other comments coming in from Edison. Maybe we're just assuming students are capable of using it. I mentioned that before. Also, there's another comment about ethical use of maybe showing how it should be cited in their work. I think that's a really good point. And then Luis says, not only thinking independently, there are either processes that have been compromised as well. Our students become lazy by letting AI do things that they could do by themselves. Let's bring that comment in there. Again, in what way does AI enhance or does it limit a student's ability to think, to process, to come up with ideas and become more active learners? Anthony, could you speak to that?
Well, first and foremost, before I go to that, I want to, based on my experience, I think the AI, ChatGPT, and other technologies were introduced to us without proper guidance. And there was no day, if I could remember, in my former school, they organized a kind of sessions to students for students to know how to apply this. So you see that our students just jump in and start using without any guidance. That is
Good
a real
point.
fact. It happened to me. So even we, the teachers, we are just introduced to it, do this, do this. There is nobody like a specialist that talk to us. Now, back to your question, limitation and enhancement. First and foremost, I will say that there is, we cannot totally reject AI and other chat GBT and other technologies in terms of enhancing, because it helps. Sometimes it helps us to get to know things in a deeper and other perspective. Learning one thing and then getting different perspective to it is another thing. So I cannot, disqualify that. It is a very good in terms of learning new things, in terms of getting to search to know new things as quickly as possible, in terms of helping us to understand even the topic we want to deal with. These are the very, very beautiful things AI have done. But on another way around, like where Edison or Lewis said, definitely our lazy student in quote, there are some of our students that actually don't really want to stress themselves, that want to like everything be done on a platter of gold. In this case, then you see them trying to get everything from technologies, all this technology we are talking about. It happened to me, it happened to me. It's just that I learned the skill of identifying um, things in terms of downloading materials and looking at the level of the word used and the level of the student giving me the work. I was like, no, this is not your work. How did you get this work? And then I begin to question. So at the end of the day, the student didn't look at what we did. The student didn't even try to do it. He just went to the internet, download it, or tell ChatGPT, prepare this for me, like the other speaker was saying, without any evaluation, without any screening, without any, kind of judging what we are doing. At the end of the day, we realize that it is making students not to be the best of they can be. And finally, practical example. If ChatGPT and other technologies have made also our students their critical IQ very low, because we realize this now that we have returned back to presential class. Okay, you see common spelling, they can't get it because during the time of pandemic, they were using all these things. And this helps them, in one way or the other, getting things done, but now we have returned back to presential class last year, this year. Students can't even spell some common words. Now we have to go back to some of these things from my own personal experience to begin to, get it again, because they were typing, their writing has been somehow disfigured. You see them writing up and down. You see them not following the line. These are some of the things that we call them the backlog of pandemic period. So
Right.
the whole thing comes to play that ChatGPT helped them a lot during that time we are doing online class. But during the presential class, you realize that they have been really a kind of diminished in terms of doing things by themselves.
And thanks for bringing those points up. Could I ask Russ and then Fernanda to give a short, specific example of how ChatGPT could be used in the classroom?
Yeah, well, one thing that I've been experimenting with is creating games for grammar review. And for example, you can, with ChatGPT, you can have it say, I would like to play a game with you. And the game I would like to play, it just is used to practice present perfect tense. And so I want you to give me a situation. Don't use the present perfect tense in the situation, but explain a situation that I need to describe using the present perfect. When I use it correctly, please let me know that I did it correctly. When I use it incorrectly, please explain that and have me try again. And give me, for example, 15 situations, and I need to reply to them. And at the end, give me a summary of how I did and give me my score out of 15, this kind of thing. And with a little experimentation with that, you can have ChatGPT have an interactive game that the students could play either in class or outside of class. and it's a great way to practice. The only thing is, because of the inherent inaccuracies in ChatGPT, occasionally the ChatGPT will give you an incorrect answer to say, I'm sorry, that's not the present perfect, or or something like that, which is actually an opportunity to demonstrate to students that it's not that reliable, but also have students defend themselves in a classroom setting. They can say, no, that is present perfect. I can show you. Here's the verb have. It's in the right tense for the subject of the sentence, and here's the past participle, which is also correct. And then they are critically thinking. They have to analyze each answer to see whether ChatGPT is correct or not. So it adds another level of kind of responsibility to the student and complexity for critical thinking.
And this is an example where you could spend a whole hour just talking about the use of ChatGPT to create interactive games. Thank you, Russ. Fernanda, any thoughts about a simple activity that could be done in the class, teacher generated, you could say?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could ask students to, for example, if you have to teach them to write formal letters, you could ask them to type on ChatGPT a formal letter. Okay, so you type the task itself, and then ChatGPT will give you the task, the written letter. So then you ask them to look at the letter and to analyze it and to find the gaps. So what are the gaps? Which is very similar to what Russ, or I think that we need to work with finding the gaps in ChatGPT. There are no activities where we're going to create that will be fully on the hands of the students. So yeah, so basically they're all alike. Yeah.
Thank you, Fernanda. Mesa, any thought on that? A way which you could use it to develop your own materials or an activity in the classroom?
Okay, I think that what I noticed while teaching, I noticed that the ChatGPT and technology helped a lot the below achievers. They became more active and more participating in the classroom, because you know that those below achievers were always sitting alone. They do not like to participate, maybe because they were waiting for someone to guide them, to give them the answer, or to tell them about ideas. But this year I noticed that they started to be more active in the classroom, and they started also to be inspiration to the high achievers, because you know that sometimes they give ideas that are that are considered as the base stone for the high achievers. So I think that technology helps them a lot.
Good. Thank you very much. As I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, I think we could spend hours on this particular topic, going in different directions. But because you're attending in person, what we'd like to do is open up the floor to any of you that would like to share any brief thoughts and comments. And then I would like to end at the very end by asking you, I asked ChatGPT, does it feel that it will replace teachers in the future? And I'll be sharing that at the end. So Jaime, if we could just open it up to anyone who would like to share a brief comment, perhaps we can address some of those in the last few minutes.
Sure, great point, because I have lots of questions but we won't have enough time. So I just want to mention something about what you just said. It won't replace the teacher, obviously, but what I am personally afraid of is that lazy teachers, because there are always lazy professionals in all fields, they will get used to something faster, without working, without creating, without using their imagination. And that is something that I am really worried about. I believe 100% in everything positive about artificial intelligence, but I would also like to hear what other colleagues have to say briefly.
Absolutely.
So we have enough time for everyone. So anybody here in the audience who wants to say something?
Fernanda, did you have a brief comment?
Yes, I do. Actually, I wanted to address this because I attended an event the other day, and the professor said that there are two kind of things we should be looking out for in the world now. So the first thing is nuclear energy, and the second thing is artificial intelligence. So I think as educators, we need to be aware of how we are leading our students in using technology itself, right? So I think that the issue of how we relate to information has not begun just now. So how do we read books actually? I mean, are we just reading like for what, right? That's my question. How are our students relating to the reading material? So are we following textbooks or course books blindly, or are we actually questioning what is written there? So I think that AI is, relates to the same kind of idea. So we have to keep questioning our materials. We have to keep questioning our course books, the information itself, because it is constantly changing. So I think that this is what I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good points. So could we open up the floor to any comments or thoughts on what we've discussed today?
Yeah, Angelina, Angelina, John, Luis, Edison, anybody, Clady, Ivan, Fillmore. Yeah, Damaris in Cameroon, go on. And then Angelina.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Jaime, for this beautiful topic. I've had a lot of issues with my network today, but I could grasp something. Randall, it was interesting. I personally use ChatGPT to prepare my lessons. Definitely, it facilitates lesson planning for the teacher that I am. But again, as I share Jaime's view when he said it could be a trait either for professionals or for students themselves. So I think if we use ChatGPT reasonably in a critical way, in order not to forget that we are teachers, we are supposed to be creating contents, then it will be okay. We will use it and we will never misuse it or overuse it.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was
Thank
interesting topic.
Good point of using it, not overusing it, finding some balance.
Yeah.
Thank you. Angelina, you had a comment.
Thank you very much for this conversation about privileges, about digital divide. Last year, for instance, I worked in Uzbekistan and my students had no opportunity to use ChatGPT or some other resources. We have no laptops and sometimes have no smartphones and electricity too. But now in Vietnam, I'm happy that my students know about these technologies. I think in this case, we, teachers, have to show our students the ways of using these technologies, how to use it to boost creativity, not reduce, to improve skills.
Agree with you 100%, dear Angelina. Now, Luis in Ecuador.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to comment on the use of AI. Sometimes it is really helpful, and sometimes it is just not. One case I can share with you is when we are involved with educational research. And for example, I have some students who are I am their tutor, and they of course they are working in their on their thesis, of course, any recommendations they can have. And one thing I tell them is they should have certain tools, certain research tools, like for example, range, mean. They have to make certain calculations. That's what I mean. And for example, the standard deviation, I don't know if you have tried that, is really long and difficult and hard. If you are not numbers, it is difficult to calculate. So what I tell them is, okay, you already have the results. Use ChatGPT like a glorified sort of calculator. So it does that for you, because at least me, I'm not good at numbers really. So yes, I use it for that. For example, when I have to do those calculations, I know that it's not uh, entirely the best thing to do, but that's what I do personally. I don't know about you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Luis.
Okay.
Roxana?
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I wanted to share some of the experience that I have had with using with this kind of technology. And I'm not too much into technology, so it was myself, I forced myself to be into this part of the world because I cannot be aside. I had to be part of it. But at the same time, I do not trust all the things I can read over there. So talking about ChatGPT, I tested and I start sending some kind of information that I knew, for granted that it was incorrect. And ask her, is it okay? Or what about this? And ChatGPT corrected that. And they said, okay, I can trust a little bit things. And then something that has to be mentioned about that is about facts. It's not really updated that fast, no, because we have some situation in my country, Peru, and a president was in jail in the United States. He was in prison. And the day that he was sent back to Peru, I asked ChatGPT about this situation. And he said he was in prison, USA. And he was actually improved already. So the facts are not updated that fast. Previous information, all information about grammar, about this stuff, yes, it does have it. But we have to be very careful about it. How to use it? I ask my students to do it as an extensive part. I have adults, not only young teenagers, but I work for an organization. I have adults, and some of them are a little reluctant to accept this. So when they have about the situation studying language and learning the language, English in this case, is that they need some kind of translation. So they say, okay, you can just do that. We are not going to do it during the classes, but go to ChatGPT and ask information to clarify some of the doubts that you have. So as we have done and we have worked in this field for so many years, we have to be careful about these things. We have to use them. We have to dosify the use. And at the same time, we have to be investigating, searching. There are things I'm too much into Google. I like Google Drive. I use Google Docs. But now, for example, we have been informed by Google that Jamboard, is one of the tools that we use in Google Drive, is going to be set aside. Not anymore next year. Around March or February next year, is going to be removed. And we were training our own teachers and academic advice in my organization. So we have to train ourselves, we have to train our teachers, we have to train our students. And now, but the steps back and start with something else. We have to move to another kind of technology. So it's heavy, it's hard, it's not that easy, but it's what we have now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think those are really important points to be aware of and how we need to use these tools in an efficient way and to train people to do it as well. Yvonne, I think Yvonne has a comment, and then I'd like to close out with sharing a question. I asked ChatGPT, does it feel that it will replace teachers in the future? I'll share its response here in a minute. Yvonne?
Thank you so much, Randall. Well, I have a question, and I understand this is the time for questions, right, Jaime and Randall?
Right.
Sure, go ahead.
Great. So I'm a new in artificial intelligence, and I'm trying to learn more and how do I use it in the classroom with myself as a teacher and with students. And we just started a course, and at the end of the course, students will be taking a test, a TOEIC test. So what experiences do you have in terms of developing test-taking skills with artificial intelligence, if any? I would love to explore more of. I've been reading, and I have little, so far, very little information about how to use AI in test-taking skills improvement or the development. So, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Russ, would you like to speak at all to that particular comment about creating tests and questions and so forth? And then we'll wrap things up.
Okay, yeah, I have I have used it for that, and I feel like it can be very, very useful in generating the basic framework. And then you need to do a little bit of a dive into what you have received from ChatGPT to see how you need to tweak it for testing. But I've used it successfully to create such things. I think it can be extremely valuable. Well, ChatGPT can't necessarily, I like to think of it this way. You can use it as a tool to create a test, but can it create a test itself? Not really, but yes, you can definitely use it as a tool as you create a test.
Well, let me share. I'm sure, Jaime, people have other thoughts and questions and so forth, but let me share at least the last thing that I came up with. And again, I asked ChatGPT this question. Do you think we will reach a point where AI will replace teachers to any degree? And this is what ChatGPT said. And I certainly would be open to hearing any comments. It said, ChatGPT responded in a very kind way to me. It said, AI is poised to play a significant role in education, offering benefits such as enhanced learning, experiences, and increased efficiency. However, the future of AI in education will likely be a collaborative one, with AI augmenting the capabilities of human educators rather than entirely replacing them. Human teachers bring empathy, inspiration, and mentorship that AI cannot replicate, making the role of educators critical in shaping the future of education. Any comments to that?
Anyone here in the audience? I have, as I said at the beginning, many questions. And
I'll paste that into the chat so people can look at it.
Ah, okay. Yeah, go on, Luis. Be brief, please.
Yes, of course. I was thinking about those remote areas where usually teachers cannot reach. Perhaps, or sometimes there is only one teacher who usually is in charge of the whole school. That happens a lot in my country. I don't know about what is your experience there. But for example, if we can bring technology, such as, for example, what Elon Musk is doing with his internet, and then we can have teachers from other places appear in front of the students, you know. So I think that in that way, perhaps not AI, but the technology can help us reach those students and those schools that really need. And if there is no teachers, then the AI, which now it can replicate voices, it can create avatars that look like people. The future is overwhelming already.
Yeah, I would say, I would add, Luis, that happens in our poor Latin American countries like Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, and I don't know about other countries. But I guess the problem, if there was a gap between students from the city and students from the highland and the jungle, now the gap will be bigger, because I remember the last government bought thousands of tablets which didn't work. And they sent them to cities where they didn't have electricity or didn't have any internet. So I guess that it's beautiful, everything that we are saying, but if we do not have honest authorities, we don't have good schools provided with all the materials, it will be just a bigger gap between people with money and people without money. But as I said before, it's just my point of view. Back to
Jaime?
you, Russ. Yeah, Randall.
Yeah, could we then, I just want to make sure that the panelists could close out with any brief comment that they have, because we deeply appreciate their participating today.
Of course.
So Fernanda, and then Russ, and then perhaps Mesa and Anthony.
All right.
Okay, so first I would like to thank everyone for being here and for sharing so many ideas. I have learned a lot, and I would definitely be taking this further. And yeah, anyway, but my final thoughts are, just in brief, in a few words, is, I mean, AI can generate answers. Yes, I think everyone can agree that the AI generates answers. But who has been asking the questions? I mean, who is actually asking all the questions, right? I think that we are the ones who ask the questions. And if we know how to ask the right questions, then we have control over AI taking over our roles as teachers. So we have to learn how to ask questions, I think. That's all.
Okay, back to Russ.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind, and several people have referred to some of these ideas, AI can be useful, but two things it can't do. One, it doesn't have the soft skills that a teacher has. Things like empathy is one that ChatGPT itself mentioned. It can't replicate empathy. Only living creatures can do that. So it will never replace that, at least in its current form. And another thing to think about is that we are constantly getting feedback from our students, and not just verbal, but body language, eye contact, that kind of thing. And we are changing the way we instruct from moment to moment based on all of that feedback, as well as our soft skills that we use to process that feedback. ChatGPT can't do any of that. And so we humans have an edge in those areas as well.
Thank you, Russ.
Mesa?
Well, the last thing that I would like to say is that teachers and educators should have their own way in educating this generation. This generation should know that if we allow more room to the artificial intelligence, this means that we are losing our jobs in the future. So the more we allow artificial intelligence to control our life, the more jobs and professions are going to disappear from our life. So we need to make some kind of balance, and we need to know that artificial intelligence is not always the solution for a lot of problems, although it facilitates things to us, but who knows what will happen in the future. So it's better to find a balance in the use of technology.
Good point. The idea of balance in finding that. Anthony, any final comments?
Yes. First and foremost, moving forward, we cannot deny the fact that AI has come to stay. They will be part of us. But the question how we use them becomes the question that every teacher will have to answer, especially in the context of the metaphysics of presence, what I call the gift of presence. When a teacher doesn't offer anything when he is present, then that teacher will realize that AI will take that position. And if AI takes that position and our students are in constant search for that gift of presence, then it means that we have failed. And we also begin to think about those people, like we mentioned, in the rural areas that cannot access the Wi-Fi. Is there a way we can build a kind of AI within a set of computer or tablets so that they can watch it as video and then help themselves to critically develop? These are some of the things we'll begin to think about in moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. I think this is an initial discussion that certainly, Jaime, we could spend a lot of time on focusing on different areas, whether it's materials development, about classroom use. And I'm just grateful that the participants, Fernanda, Mesa, Anthony, and Russ have joined us today.
And I guess that one of you, Randall, Michael, Russ, Mesa, or Fernanda, or anyone here in the audience, if next year one of you wants to present some practical activities that you do in class, or that we could do in class. For example, we can do this, we can do that. So those old people like me learn from you, because here in the Facebook Live, they say that it's a new tool that many teachers don't know. So I guess that's the point, right? Get to know how to use it, when to use it, how many times use it, right? Find the balance and everything else that you have all mentioned here.
I'll just have, if there's a problem, I'll just have my AI clone do that for me.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew. So now, dear friends and colleagues of the world, this is the time for final words today. Thank you, dear Randall, Russ, Fernanda, Michael, and I've lost Mesa for your contributions today. And also thank you, dear Plamen, Angelina, Roxy, John,
Everyone.
everyone, Damaris, Nora from Mexico, Cleide, Edison, Ivan, Fillmore, Micaela, and Silvina. So this is the time for you to say goodbye and thank you. We start with you, dear Fernanda.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Namaste, everyone. Like they say in India, namaste. And I hope that you make good use of this. Yeah, and keep reflecting on it. We should constantly reflect. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, dear. Back to you, dear Michael.
Here is my home. Like I normally say, I'm really grateful to be here once again. It has been a very innovative. Thanks to you, my teacher Jaime. Thanks to you, Randall. You know, I never thought that this day will come on board. I use your work in my teaching. I never knew that I'm going to do collaborate with you, but it's a blessing. Thank you. I believe that each and every one of us got some.
Yeah, and congrats on your second baby, dear Michael.
Yeah.
Then Maisa.
Well, okay. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak today. I was really excited and happy to participate with you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mesa.
Dear Russ.
Been great to hear everyone's ideas. You all have a lot of great ideas and some ways that we can deal with the toothpaste that is now out of the tube in constructive ways. So I really appreciate all of your insights.
Wow, I love that expression. Thank you so much, Russ. Well, and finally, dear Randall, thank you for bringing this wonderful group of panelists today. It was a very different presentation today, but the most important, a very critical, relevant, and important topic, artificial intelligence. Randall?
Yeah, I feel that so often I work in a vacuum. In other words, sometimes we work within our own. The only person I really have to share ideas with sometimes is with a roommate in my brain. And sometimes I don't like what he tells me. So coming together and seeing your faces, even leaving your cameras on, as much as you would like to be able to eat breakfast or whatever, it just is a real pleasure. And Jaime, you and I met online, and it's just an opportunity. It's just an opportunity to collaborate like with people from around the world. And I could be wearing shorts right now, even though I'm wearing a tie, and you have no idea. It's just a very relaxing environment where we get together, we share, we collaborate, and we grow, and it just enhances our entire experience. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, dear Randall, and everyone for being here with us today. And if I'm not mistaken, our next, let me see, our next speaker is, let me go back. It's Damaris. She from Cameroon. She will be presenting on November 26th. Damaris, she will be talking about language use in EFL classroom conflict situations. Oh my God, an analysis of a speech act. So see you then in 2 Sundays, and thank you, everyone. Time for me and for you to cook, do the washing up, walk the dog. Now it's time for you to walk the dog. Goodbye, everyone. See you 2 Sundays.
Bye, Randall. It was
Bye-bye.
interesting.
All right. Take care to all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you as usual.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you,
soon.
Randall.
See you
Thank you,
soon.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Nice speaking to you. Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Hi,
Take
Anthony.
care, everyone.